Hello everybody and welcome to another deck profile. This time I'm profiling cubics. Before I jump into the deck profile, two things. One, feel free to watch the video but not actually watching it, just have it in the background listening to it sort of like a podcast, because you know I'm just going to be talking about cards and nothing is going to be happening on screen. There won't be any replays. Second, if you guys do enjoy this video, at the end feel free to leave a like, a comment, and feel free to even subscribe, as that shows me that you like what I'm doing, and I'll keep profiling decks, because that's just what I do here. Anyway, cubics. Before I go into the list, I just want to mention a few things. So, cubics, they recently topped YCS Costa Rica. That was pretty hype. I'm still waiting to see the deck list. I don't think the list has been posted. But top 32 in a Draco, intensive YCS, mostly Draco and Pendulum Magician. The deck was actually able to top, so it does mean that this deck can actually compete against those two decks. Pendulum Magicians, I don't really know, because they are able to put out a few negates, while True Dracos, this deck is pretty good at beating over Masterpiece because of Crimson Nova being unaffected by Masterpiece's effect, and also the burn damage is pretty nice, and it has more attack than Masterpiece. So yeah. Now onto their profile. I'm going to just go over the deck, and then I'm going to give you guys some explanations of the cards. So starting off, I'm playing triple Crimson Nova, the Dark Cubic Lord, followed up by 2 BLS. Then those are my boss monsters. Now for the main deck, I'm playing triple Doozer and triple Summoner Monk. These are my engine cards, they are my starters, they basically get me going. And then for the other cards, I'm playing 1 Indiora Doom and 1 Buster Gundeal. These are the cubic, they're not really the boss monsters, but they are just like cubic cards, and they are here because of the Unification Loop combo, so yeah, 1 of each. And then I'm also playing triple Ghost Ogre as my go-to hand trap, reason being it's a lie, and it can get into the graveyard pretty quickly, so I can use it for BLS fuel, because I don't really want to be using the Doozer, but the Ghost Ogres are just really good because they're actually able to remove cards off the field, especially back row and such. This is why you really want to use those Ghost Ogres to get rid of things like floodgates and such. And then for the cubics, I'm playing 3 of the little cubics, which are Vulcan Dragni, the Cubic King, and 2 Girigile, the Cubic Kings. I'm not playing any of the Cubic Beasts, reason being, they take up space in the deck, and you're rarely gonna summon or get their effects off. And also, I prefer the Kings just because the burn damage is actually really nice. So the idea in this deck is to deal as much battle damage as possible with VLS and Crimson Nova, and then burn them with Cubic Lord to kill them. And then if they still have like a little bit of life points left, Girigile and Vulcan Dragni come in for the burn damage, which is also why I'm playing the contract with the Dawn 1000, because it deals 1000 life points to my opponent, so pretty good. And then playing triple V Jam, this is just like a card that you have to play because it is required for you to play in cards like Cubic Karma, where you have to send any number of cubic V Jams, or V Jam the cubic seeds. So yeah. For the spells, the spell lineup is also pretty standard. You want to play the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles of the deck, which are basically the 4 main spells, being Cubic Wave, Foolish Burial Goods, Twin Twister, and Cubic Karma. The reason for this is because Cubic Wave can double the attack of one of your cubics and half the attack of an opponent's monster. So this is really good against boss monsters that would otherwise be really unkillable. Things like Crystal Wings and what is it called? Macabre. Pretty much like any big beat stick or sort of like hard to deal with card that your opponent has. Cubic Wave will allow you to beat over it, especially with Doozer. Like, you can double Doozer's attack and half the attack of the opponent's monster. And also its grave attack is pretty good. Foolish Burial Goods, it's here to send out the Karmas, and Twin Twister is just really good to deal with back row, because this deck will lose the back row really hard. Then for the one-offs, I'm playing the 1 contract with the Dawn 1000, 1 Reasoning, and 1 Upstart Goblin. Those guys are just pretty nice. If you draw them, they never really clog, and they are just always helpful, which is also why I'm only playing 1 contract with the Dawn 1000. Even though it's sort of like Upstart Goblin at 1, it makes it so that it's never a dead draw, because you can only activate 1 copy of it per turn. And then the double Dark Wall Dealing is this card. I'm playing it at 2 right now just because I don't want to see multiple copies of it, like one into another. But if I draw it in combination with things like a cubic karma, then the neg 1 that I suffer from Dark World dealings, I recover it with cubic karma because I can banish karma from the graveyard to add a cubic card. So, which is why I'm playing the Dark World dealings. And then finally, I'm playing the triple unification of the cubic lords. This card is really good because it helps you to deck thin a lot, and enables you to make pretty spicy link plays, ending with a link 4. So very good. So yeah. Now for the extra deck, you are playing one of the ultimate boss monster of the deck, Crimson Nova, the Trinity. Crimson Nova Trinity, the Dark Cubic Lord. This card is absolutely busted. If you can get it out, you basically automatically win. Which is the reason why I have it in the deck, is because you fusion with it using Unification. Unification is a polymerization trap card, sort of like that, but only specific to this card. And if I have it in the hand, but I don't have a way to get it into the graveyard, if I don't have like the twin or the Dark World dealings and I have this in my hand, then I'll probably try set up this play. So yeah, this card is absolutely busted. I'll read it in a bit. Then for the rest of the extra deck, I'm playing one Gustav Max because our Crimson Novas are level 10s, and you know, sometimes just overlaying for a big beat stick, or if they have like negate, if their effects are negated or something, just basically allowing us to end the game faster with Gustav Max. One Trapeze Magician because we are playing Triple Summoner Monks, so Trapeze Magician is pretty good. Making our Cubic Lord attack again is pretty nice. 1k Gorgon, this is just for a little bit of protection. If you don't want the Crimson Nova to be targeted by something or whatever, because it's already immune to monsters whose attack is 3000 or less. But sometimes if your opponent has like the ability to target it with something like a mind control or whatever, K-Gorgon can help you there. Tornado Dragon, again, more back row hate, and then for the rest of the deck is pretty much just rank 4 toolbox. You know, you have your Tornado Dragon to deal with back row, your Baguska to stall if you're going first and you don't really have that good of a play, your Cassell for just spot removal, which is pretty good, Duella to stop most graveyard decks, and then Cowboy for game. I'm also playing the one Sylvan Princess Sprite because you are playing about half of the deck, more or less, probably like 45% of the deck is spells. So if you have 2 V-Gems on the field, going into Sylvan Princess Sprite is always pretty nice because the V-Gems do like to be in the grave. So yeah. And then for the links, I'm playing one Underclock Taker and one Proxy Dragon. Reason being, the reason why you're playing 2 Link 2s is because it really depends. Usually for the Unification play, Proxy Dragon, you want to use the Proxy Dragon because it's the least useful one, while Underclock Taker, you want to save it for a more, for like a bigger play to like reduce an opponent's attack and then use the Underclock Taker, also because it has a link marker going down, so it can be more useful that way. And then for the 2 Link 3s, I'm playing Triple Burst Dragon. This is pretty good. And then the odd one is Topologic Trisbina. While we do not have Topologic Trisbina, feel free to play Decode Talker, it's just as good. However, the problem is that with Decode Talker, it's sort of like a card that you want to keep on the field, while with the Topologic Trisbina you can just get rid of it anyways. Or, well, not the Topologic Trisbina, the Triple Burst Dragon. You can just get rid of it, it's just a pretty good Link 3. Sometimes its effect is actually useful, but like getting, if you know like the opponent is playing like Mirror Forces or whatever, you can always just Triple Burst Dragon to negate the Mirror Forces. And the Topologic Trisbina is just good at destroying like a heavy storm in the back row and deals burn damage on top of that. So it's really powerful. And then in the end we are playing the one Topologic Bomber Dragon just because we can special summon a lot with this deck. And so nuking our opponent's field is really nice. Also, Crimson Nova isn't affected by that effect because it has the same amount of attack points. But if you don't want to play Topologic, then I reckon also it's the easiest link 4 to make because it only requires 2 materials as long as they are effect monsters, while something like Borrelord requires 3 materials, and for our Unification play, we usually only are using 2 monsters to like climb up the link level. So yeah. And then just for the side deck, I'm playing triple Trap Eater. Trap Eater is pretty good at getting rid of Floodgates. Ash Blossoms, if you really want to play them, feel free to do so. Effect Veiler being a more budget option, especially going second because we're able to like negate some of our opponent's cards, but I do prefer the Ghost Ogre just because it just does more in actually getting rid of the card. Mind controls are pretty nice. We can use them to link, and then scapegoats are also pretty nice, especially going first. We can use them for link plays. Okay, that's basically the deck itself. Now onto the explanations. So Crimson Nova special summon this by revealing 3 cubics. If it draws a monster, it can attack twice, and at the end of the turn, it deals 3000 burn damage to both players. However, you can only use the burn effect once per copy. So yeah, and then BLS, BLS is just a classic boss monster. Even if this card was at 1, I would still play it in cubics, just because when you bring it out, it's a win more card, so really, really nice. Doozer, the best starter in the deck. Basically, when this card is normal or special summon, you can Foolish Burial any cubic card. So this is just one of the most versatile cards in the deck, because if you want to do a link play, you can dump the Unifications. If you want to get searches, you can dump the Karmas. If you want to deal with problematic cards on the field, you can dump the cubic waves. So very, very nice. Summon a Monk is just very, very good. This is actually the best way to do the link play. Because with Summon a Monk you can discard any spell. If you discard like a cubic hammer or a cubic wave, that's phenomenal. You just gain so much advantage, and it's instantly able to bring out the Doozer. Also, Doozer is on once. It's not once per turn. So as long as you keep bringing out Doozers, you're gonna get a lot of advantage. Then I'm playing the one Indiora Doom and the one Buster Gundil. These are just like this is like the maximum evolution of the cubic kings, and this is like the maximum evolution of the cubic beasts. Usually I bring out Indiora Doom, and I do have the Buster Gundil because this is again a very powerful card, since you summon it by sending 3 cubics you control to the graveyard, and then against 3000 attack it can attack 3 times. So usually I bring on the Indiora Doom just because it's less useful, but the burn damage is pretty good if you summon it from the hand, while the Buster Gundil is sort of like a card that you want to use to kill your opponent. So yeah, that's why I'm playing one of each. Gold Sogas, I pretty much already went over them, and then the 2 little guys. So Girigile, you special summon it by sending a 1 cubic to the graveyard, and Vulcan Dragni, it's 2. The effects are pretty much the same. They both deal 800 damage, but Girigile only gains 800 attack, while Vulcan Dragni gains 600. And at the end of the damage step, if they battled, you can special summon a number of V-Gems from the graveyard. And then you can, Girigile can add Vulcan Dragni, and Vulcan Dragni can add Indiora Doom, if you do that. And then V-Gems is just a really nice card because it can be destroyed by battle, and at the end of the damage step, if this card battled an opponent's monster, you can place this basic card in a spell trap card zone and place 1 cubic counter on an opponent's monster. And then during your main phase, you can summon this card from the spell and trap card zone. So this card is really good again for stalling, especially if your opponent's trying to deal battle damage, or just trying to get rid of your monsters by battle. If you have this face down and you just go straight into the battle phase, like not being cautious, this is able to stall for a few turns until you get more resources in the hand, so that way you're able to get a clean OTK. So pretty nice. Cubic Wave, so this card has 2 effects. The first effect is that you target 1 monster you control in a face-up monster your opponent controls. You double the attack of your monster, of your cubic monster, and half the attack of the opponent's monster. The second effect is that if this card is in the graveyard, you can banish this and a number of cubic monsters, and then place 1 cubic counter on those monsters. So monsters with cubic counters cannot attack, and their effects are negated. So very, very good card for stalling. Also very good card to deal with like big boards if you have a bunch of like useless cubics that are not doing anything in the graveyard. Most of the time being things like Crimson Novas and V-Gems, if you already went through like a bunch of cubic commas. So a cubic wave is a very, very good card, especially doubling the attack of something like a Crimson Nova is just amazing. And it's important to know that this card doubles the current attack, not the original attack. So if you have a cubic karma and you boosted the Crimson Nova by 2400, and then you can double that, so this card can gain like 1200 attack, so that's pretty crazy. A Foolish Burial is very versatile card. You can send karmas, unifications, or waves. Pretty self-explanatory, and this card is going to be more accessible when the Lair of Darkness structure deck comes out, because Foolish Burial Goods is getting reprinted there. The card was initially not super expensive, just because up until Spirals were out, I mean pre-Spiral era, this card was like $2-3, and then Spirals came out and this card instantly jumped to like It creeped up from 7 to 10, and I think it's back down to like 6 or 7. So just feel free to wait for the common reprint. So just a pretty good card. Reasoning, really good card. Most of the time the opponent's gonna call level 4. Even if they do so, being able to get out a Summon Monk or a Doozer is pretty nice. And also being able to just mill cards, things like Karmas and Unifications is always really nice. Ideally, you're trying to mill Karmas because Karmas give you the advantage. And Upside Goblin and Contract of the Dawn 1000 are just like nice cards to give you draws. Contract of the Dawn 1000 actually being a +1, so yeah. And then again, the Dark World dealings, this card is just pretty useful sometimes. You just have to open it with a pretty interesting hand, and this card will put in work. But yeah, feel free to cut this card out to make it a 40-card deck. On the extra deck, so Crimson over the Trinity. So basically what this card does is it cannot be targeted or destroyed by your opponent's card effects. So yeah, 4,500 attack, and it cannot be targeted or destroyed by opponent's card effects, only by battle. When this card declares an attack, you halve your opponent's life points, straight up. And if this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, it can make a second attack. So that's just really, really good. Since being able to attack twice and have our opponent's life points twice basically means game. And this card is basically an auto win against tricksters, because if you take damage, you can inflict damage equal to the damage you took. So yeah, this is not the card that you're going to bring out against the Trickster matchup, but this card helps you win against the Trickster matchup. The card that you want to bring out in the Trickster matchup is Trapeze Magician, just because Trapeze Magician says that you never take damage unless it's more than this card's attack. Gustav Max, it deals 2000 damage, and the rest of the cards are pretty self-explanatory there. So yeah, that's basically it. Let me just quickly check what time we're on. We're on 16 minutes. So yeah, I think I pretty much covered everything that I had to about the deck. If you don't know what the Unification Combo is, it basically requires you to use Doozer's effect to send Unification, and then you link away Doozer, which will trigger the Unification, and Unification says that when a cubic monster leaves the field, is destroyed by battle or leaves the field, you can banish this to special summon another level 4 or lower cubic, which will then you'll special summon another Doozer, and Doozer will send another Unification. So you can basically see how this combo works by using Unification and Doozer to just climb up the link ladder and just make bigger links, usually ending up with a topologic Bomber Dragon. This combo is done usually with Summon a Monk or a Giragile. If you have like a Doozer and a Giragile, you can send the Unification off Doozer, and then Giragile summon by sending with the Doozer, which will trigger the Unification. So yeah, that's basically how you do the combo, which is really, really nice to know, because it gives another way of cubics of playing, because cubics just have mostly 3 ways of playing. They can stall with VGM, they can OTK with Crimson Nova, or they can make link plays. The latter, basically, like the better 2 plays, that you just link summon and bring out Crimson Novas, as that is just like really, really powerful. You can make pretty threatening boards that can kill your opponent very, very quickly. So yeah, again, I covered everything that I had to about cubics. If you guys did enjoy this video, I'll remind you to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and until then, I'll see you guys in the next one.